After an entire week traveling around Milano, Torino, Torino, Roma, Roma, Miami, I am back in Brussels, back home. Extremely happy to speak again about our beloved Juventus. It's time to speak about our beloved Juventus with the main topic of today, like we can read on Tuttosport, is Juve ti cambio così. Juventus, I will change you this way. Well, this is what Spalletti has in mind, and I mean, when we replace the coach, Tudor out, Spalletti in, it is for a reason. This Juventus needed a change, and fast, because this Juventus was not able to win anymore. And after a mini electroshock, Brambilla Udinese, Spalletti Cremonese, the last two games, Derby della Mole that we just played against Torino 0-0 and Juve Sporting, the one that I watch in the stadium 1-1, well, Juventus is back to not winning and also back to be predictable, to be a bit slow, not finding the way to the net, which is problematic. And pay attention because the other ones in Serie A are running, Inter, Roma, but also that surprising, or can we still call it a surprising, Bologna. Ciao Juventini of the world, my name is Giuseppe, welcome back on the channel. Before entering the main topic, let me go back to the last few days without staying too long. We will have time for that, but I must tell you that I come back with a beautiful 10, really strange, in November, with a crazy, fantastic, great shirt signed by David Trezeguet himself, but especially with a lot of memories and new challenges unlocked. Like, for example, the live shopping experience in Torino was a really big challenge, probably the biggest one as a content creator, staying 1 hour 30 in front of a camera with 2 days full preparation with 15 people from Juventus, from technicians. We had Adidas people, Fanatics people that were there to support me, but then also while we were live also to observe me, which was, I must say, with a lot of pressure, but beautiful. Beautiful also because in that moment, I went to discover the Juventus training center with the swimming pool, with the fitness room, with the grounds where they are training. The images we all see every single day was really great. Also the locker rooms there. It was really, really beautiful, enriching, also being able, and that was the moment where I was extremely emotional to see that beautiful sentence, teamwork wins, from Gianluca Vialli there up front. That was really beautiful. Before meeting also Luciano Spalletti, being able to speak with him. One of the backstage story that I already told, but I want to explain, is that I was in the Juventus hotel. I was in the restaurant, I was there alone, and a table further there was Luciano Spalletti with the entire staff, where I didn't want to bother them, but it's true that looking 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, Luciano Spalletti that was there at a certain moment, he noticed it, and he asked me to come. We spoke a bit, we did a picture. I said thank you to Martuccello, ex-vice coach of Sarri, for the Scudetto that we won 1920, wishing that he can bring us back a Scudetto really soon. So these were beautiful moments before traveling to Miami, spending days with David Trezeguet and team, meeting Juventini, also discovering Miami, that I must say is a really beautiful city. It's a city where I would love to go back as a tourist, to take the time to visit it, because when traveling there is impossible to do it. I played foot volley with David, well, played, a big word, I received a pass, that's already a huge big one. An interview, pay attention, put that notification ring on, because it will be an interview that will be available in a few days during that international break here on the channel. Not a long one, so it's like 9-10 minutes, but a nice one, I must say, a nice one with beautiful words. And then that watch party, sitting next to David, watching a game, and he telling me the secrets of a striker, what they were doing well, why not, why life is just out of this world. And then Juve Sporting, that I also watched live, my first Champions League in our stadium game that I was able to watch. Unfortunately, a draw, a game that we didn't win, and that brings us back to reality, to the big topic of today, this Juventus that is needing to change. And that's what Luciano Spalletti has in mind, and he wants to do it really well, because as I already told you, the other teams are not stopping, they are not walking, they are running. Roma that yesterday won again 2-0 against Udinese, an Inter that yesterday won, beating Lazio also there 2-0, Bologna surprisingly that was able to beat Napoli, also them with a score of 2-0. They don't stop. Then there were some surprising results. If you're looking at Atalanta losing 3-2, 3-0 against Sassuolo, Milan drawing after leading 2-0 against Parma. So some surprising results, some not. If you are looking at the ranking, 2 games ago we were at -4. Last game we were at -4. 2 games ago we were at -6. Today we are at -5. You will tell me, Beppe, all in all, we are there. Well, it's a huge big pity, and not winning the Derby della Mole, it's a big pity, because in the ranking we could have had at the moment. As I speak, 21 points. That would have meant -3 from the co-leaders Inter and Roma. Is the ranking something that is worrying me? At today, no, because from -6 to -4 to -5, we are there with a lot of games to play. So the ranking, even if it's not beautiful to see Juventus being 6th, well, we are there, everything is open. On the other side, well, the two last games were really frustrating to me. Really, really frustrating, because I didn't really feel that extra touch, that motivation, that boost that I was extremely happy about when we were watching the game of Udinese with Brambilla or Cremonese with Spalletti is already gone. And that was one of my fears that I told you here on the channel. Exactly the same topic as when we were speaking about Dusan Vlahovic. You remember the first pages with immediately Dusan extension. We need to speak about him. He needs to stay. Juventus is already thinking maybe the entourage, even Chiellini, even Vlahovic are all leaving the door open. What did I tell you in the last video that I registered here, recorded here on the channel? I told you, yeah, great, and nobody can deny that in the last 3 games, Dusan Vlahovic was probably the best one on the field. Also in terms of leadership, that grinta. But let's see, in terms of consistency, let's see if it's only a sparkle. And looks like Juventus in the first 2 games, they had that sparkle before losing themselves again in the last 2. Which is something that we need to solve as soon as possible. What did we see with Spalletti in the 3 first games? Well, 1 victory and 2 draws at the moment before playing against Fiorentina. But we saw with Spalletti that played giving continuity to the formation of Tudor with some tweaks, with some little changes. But in the game, changing from a 3-4-2-1 to a 3-2-2-3 to a 4-4-2 to a 5-4-1. All of that in the same game. So changing, moving, trying to be as flexible as possible. You know it. He didn't have a lot of time in the training center because some games were played after 3 days. In the beginning, also traveling to go away. We are speaking about Udinese and Cremonese before the last 2 games at home. So he didn't have a lot of time, also with some injured players. So he need to manage what he could do. Now we will have a bit more. Luckily, Thuram is staying. Luckily, Koopmeiners is staying. Players that the last time they traveled away and were not at disposal, this time they will be there to continue to work with Spalletti, that is thinking, okay, what can I do? That intention, that idea of going back, or at least trying to go to a 4-man defense is there in his mind. That 4-3-3 that he wants at least to try. Will we stay like that or no? Nobody knows. It depends on how the players will answer that question. But the idea could be to go towards a 4-3-3, having Di Gregorio into the goal with Kalulu as a right back, Federico Gatti or Bremer, depending when he will be back, and Kelly as center backs, and then Cambiaso back on the left as a left back. Pay attention also to Kostic, that could be there in that position with a 3-man midfield. Thuram, Locatelli, Koopmeiners. I tell you, Koopmeiners has been tested now for 3 games in a row, where actually he did really, really well in the last 3 games, or the 3 first games, let's say it like that, of Luciano Spalletti. Well, I don't believe that in the long run, in the long term, Koopmeiners will have that position. A test will be done for the Dutch midfielder to play in our midfield, maybe a midfield out of 3 men. That will be the test of Spalletti, making sure that Koopmeiners, that comes from 3 great games on an individual level, will bring him back to a midfielder, because we signed Cope not as a center back, not as a left center back, but as a midfielder. So super important as a challenge. We work on the head, we continue mentally to work on him. The physical condition is growing of Cope, so on that one there is absolutely no problem. Now let's see what he can give us a bit more up front, not as a striker, because he said he didn't like it, but a bit more up front there in that midfield, being there, giving muscles, intelligence, and also plays to a midfield made of Thuram and Locatelli, and maybe switching and putting Thuram a bit more on the right side with Koopmeiners that prefers to play on the left up front, Conceição, Yildiz and Dusan Vlahovic. Or we continue with a 3-4-1-2 with Yildiz behind the 2 strikers that are Vlahovic and Openda. For what reason? Because we need to maximize the players that we have at disposal. Kelly about to come back. Cabal is hoping to come back already now in the next 2 days. For Bremer, they will need a bit more time. So not yet for Gleison Bremer, and we need Gleison. Pay attention. There are a lot of people who are starting to create cases, controversy about Kenan Yildiz. I watched him live. I must say that Yildiz is the least of my problems. Of course, in some games where we are not finding creativities, we saw and Conceição and Yildiz extremely wide, so we need to put them a bit more in the center. But except of that, I'm absolutely not worried about Yildiz. Could he have done a bit better? Probably yes. Could he have gone with some contribution for goals? Absolutely yes, because it's something that is missing if you're not speaking about penalties since the last 7 games. But watching the game, I tell you, Kenan Yildiz is the least of my problems, and he's also the least of the problems of Luciano Spalletti. What is the problem? And that's true, that whoever is playing there up front is not doing well from our new signings. David, we didn't see him. Openda, we didn't see him. Well, at least we saw them on the field, but not really in terms of performances. And this was a problem with Tudor. It continues to be in the first initial games a problem of Spalletti, something that he needs to solve. That's one of the problems and not the only one. A solution could be Djegrova, how he entered against Torino. Well, immediately he gave that sparkle. And Spalletti is saying he's waking up, and at the moment he's working to come back to give continuity of performances, to play game in, game out. And when he will reach that level, pay attention, because he could be a player that can put a lot of defenders from the other teams in difficulty. So Djegrova could be one of the solutions for that 4-3-3 of Luciano Spalletti. I tell you that when he entered, when I was watching also with David Trezeguet, well, it's a player that you say, okay, he can bring something on the medium term to this Juventus. Let's see how long he will put to actually deliver. And then Juventus also looking Mercato with Bernabé, a player that was already followed by Juventus 1 or 2 seasons ago, a player that is continued to be followed also because he's doing a beautiful season. He's still a young player, a player that comes from La Cantera in Barcelona before going to the youth sector of Manchester City, and then he went to Parma. Parma, where he is since 2021, is growing, is starting to do extremely well, also in terms of, because he's a midfielder, also in terms of goal contribution with already 2 goals, he's a starter there. So will he be able to come in the winter? I don't think so, because teams like Parma, when they have these players, they want to give them at least an entire season, because otherwise they could be really in problems and they want to avoid relegation. But that's a player that I'm sure we will continue to speak about. 174, so not the tallest player, but a player that knows what to do with the ball, something that is sometimes missing in that Juventus, and that could give a big help to Luciano Spalletti. Tomorrow would be the day of Damien Comolli becoming officially CEO of Juventus. We didn't speak about it too much on the channel in the last 2 days. For what reason? Because there was not a lot in that committee of that meeting that we had a few days ago. There was not really something extremely interesting. So now, tomorrow, CEO Damien Comolli, we will follow it closely, and if there are more news, I will keep you up to date. If you arrived at the end of the video, don't forget, put your notification ring on, because I'm working on translating the video with David Trezeguet, that interview that in the next coming days will be published here on the channel. Thank you for your support, really, also there around the world. Excuse me, I want to say sorry and ask forgiveness for not being able to record long format videos in the last 2 days, but we will recuperate from now on. If you didn't, please put a maximum of like, don't forget to subscribe. Grazie, forza, Juve.